Okay, gastrocs originating on the medial and lateral posterior condyles of the femur, inserting onto the Achilles tendon and then the posterior calcaneus. To do a gastrocs length test, first slide this pillow out from underneath their legs because you want to make sure the knee is in full extension or as close to it because of its action at the knee. And here you can just place your palms on the soles of their feet and lean forward. Put them into that dorsiflexion and see if one side is going up much more than the other, but also comparing for the amount of tension that you're feeling in both sides. One side, are they moving the same way, but one side is feeling much more restricted. And the person should be able to reach 90 degrees there without much resistance. So if you're having to really push them to get them to this kind of neutral position, that's considered short. But if you can just guide them into that neutral position, that's considered full length. Another sign for gastroc shortness is that they will be unable to extend their knee fully when they're fully dorsiflexed. So if you bring your toes up like that, that knee will be unable to extend completely. Good, and relax. Because of the attachment above the knee. Okay, face down please. Thank you. So trigger points can be anywhere within the gastrocs. I find them more in the medial head of gastrocs than the lateral head. Travell describes 2 trigger points in each head, kind of one closer to the top, one closer to the insertion onto the tendinous attachments, but they can be anywhere within there. They're going to refer in the posterior calf and to the bottom of the foot. Depending on the person's body type, you can do a pincer palpation where you're going to grasp the gastrocs and roll it through. And then you can choose to treat like that as well by pinching and compressing. You can also do that with the medial head. Usually the medial head is a little bit easier to get a grip on than the lateral head. Or you can just do your cross fiber palpation through both heads of the gastrocs and compress where you find those hypertoned areas. Gastrocs are very sensitive in pretty much everyone, so just use caution when using pressure for the first time. It's a great place to warm up with cross hands, your general Swedish, shape and mold. Attachment release. In order to access those attachments at the posterior condyle, I'm actually just going to bring this down a little bit. You're going to need to flex the knee a little bit. Don't sit on your table like I'm doing. I just want you to see. So you need to flex the knee. And then just like when we were treating fascially in the popliteal fossa, sink down slowly until you feel that bottoming out. It'll probably be easier if you control with one hand and then friction the other. So we're going to friction each head individually. So once you get a sense that you're down there, get them to gently push their foot into your arm. So other way. Good. And relax. You can see if you can feel that tendon pop a little bit. And for my longitudinal frictions, I'm just rolling my thumb inferior to superior. And my cross fiber, I'm going to do medial to lateral. But I'm only going to friction one head at a time. So then when I come over here, I'm going to switch, sink back in, the medial to those hamstring tendons. longitudinal friction, and I'm just doing this kind of with my thumb, and then cross fiber frictions medial to lateral. If the person's getting any strong, like sharp pain, shooting pain, or you're feeling a strong pulse, just move, being aware of those neurovascular structures in the area. Frictioning at the insertion. And by the book, like we've said with lots of these muscles, we're going to friction right on this posterior calcaneus, longitudinally, and cross fiber. So you probably use 2 thumbs like this to do longitudinal, and cross fiber as well. You can use a little tool. Where is it? Here it is. You can use a little tool like this, longitudinal, and then cross fiber. Or you can choose to palpate up that big, strong Achilles tendon to that musculotendinous junction, which is quite high up for the gastrocs, and perform your longitudinal frictions broader here, like this, and then cross fiber. To approximate, palpating your tender area, and then flexion of the knee and plantar flexion. Usually you don't need to bring them into full knee flexion to get that decrease in pain. Okay, then one more thing I wanted to make sure I showed you. Let's make sure we are recording. We are. Is Hohmann's sign. Oh no, wait. First, let's do a reset. So what I would do to reset is reset and stretch. If you want to keep them prone, slide the leg off the table a little bit to stretch. And then get them to pull their toes up towards their knee. Hold them there and relax. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. I want you to gently push your arm into me, or your foot into my hand. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And then increasing. See how I've got her off the table so she can keep that knee extended and get into that full flexion. What I don't want to see for gastrocs is this. Okay? Because you're not extended at the knee, you're not really stretching gastrocs there. You can choose to flip them over and do that stretch supine if you like, or you can just do it the way I showed you. And then to reset, I would just get them to go through some ankle pumps. So 1, 2, 3, and then getting them to do that 3 times themselves. 1, 2, 3. Great. Hohmann's sign is a test for deep vein thrombosis. Deep vein thrombosis can be a potentially life-threatening condition. We'll talk about it more in the lecture, I'm sure. But it can mimic signs of trigger points in the gastrocs, pain in the calf. Usually you'll see, or you would look for things like redness, swelling. But if you wanted to test for it, we're going to, again, bring their leg off the table a little bit so they can go into that, you can hold them into that full flexion. And some sources have you holding them in dorsiflexion, other sources have them doing it actively, so I'll just do it holding them there. Now you're going to firmly grasp the belly of the gastrocs and squeeze. Okay? And a positive is like severe, intense, or sharp pain. So I think it's one of those ones you don't have to guess if it's positive. People with sore calves will be sore when you squeeze like this in this position, but the DVT, like it's gonna shoot them off the table. I think that's it.